The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
That choice was made by FIFA's executive committee. But even before the vote, there were issues. 2 members were suspended over allegations they'd offered to sell their votes. Since the decision, the whistleblowers alleged 3 members were offered cash for votes by Qatar, and US prosecutors have alleged that 2 more FIFA officials were offered and received bribe payments to vote for Qatar. The FIFA officials involved and Qatar have always denied the allegations, and a FIFA inquiry concluded votes weren't sold.
FIFA says that fans will not be allowed to buy alcohol around World Cup stadiums in Doha.
In a shocking revelation, reports suggest that more than 6,500 migrant workers from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka have died in Qatar since it won the right to host the World Cup 10 years ago.
We will make sure that this is a milestone in the history of the Middle East and a milestone for FIFA.
The FIFA World Cup is the biggest and most widely watched event in the world. The 2018 FIFA World Cup final was watched by nearly 1.1 billion people simultaneously. When there are so many eyes on an event, there is a lot of money as well. $220 billion to be exact. This is the amount spent by Qatar on the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Now you may have heard of a lot of controversies regarding the World Cup, FIFA and Qatar. But, are they all true? Or just made up propagandas from the Western media? Don't worry, we are here to break them down for you. This is your friend, with OTT. If you like to help to decide which topics I cover, let me know the topics in the comments section. Make sure you vote this up, so that YouTube knows you're enjoying what you're watching, and if you're new to this channel, do hit the subscribe button, and also hit the bell icon for all notifications. The Middle Eastern countries had their eyes on the football market for a while, during the rise of the Premier League. This prompted the richest of the rich to buy the top football clubs of the world, such as Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain and now Newcastle United. Money flowed left, right and center, and when that happens, charges of corruption are not far behind. For the first time in the history of football, 2 World Cups were awarded side by side in 2010. 2018 to Russia and 2022 to Qatar, 2 countries with a shoddy history of human rights and government formations. To host a World Cup, contesting countries put forth a bid to the FIFA Executive Committee, which consisted of 24 members in 2010 from across the world. If the members find the bid favorable and a majority of them voted for the country, it wins the FIFA World Cup hosting rights. Now, Qatar is a country in the desert, with half the population of a small city in India. But it is also home to one of the world's largest natural gas reserves. As a result, it has the highest GDP per capita in the world. You can see where this is going. Qatar won the World Cup hosting rights in 2010. And since 2010, 7 FIFA Executive Committee members have been banned for receiving bribes of up to $1.5 million to vote for Qatar in 2010. Here's a list of all the charges imposed on the committee members. As you can see, the list consists of 22 FIFA ex-members who voted in the 2018 and 2022 World Cup hosting rights in 2010. The initials mentioned BCDE represent the crime for which they are accused of, and if you look carefully, many of them have more than one initials mentioned after their name. Suspicion and rumors have long surrounded both the 2010 vote by FIFA's executive to hand the 2018 World Cup to Russia, and the 2022 tournament to Qatar, and prosecutors set direct, formal allegations regarding both tournaments down in an indictment in 2020, reported by Reuters. The organizers of the 2022 World Cup have strongly denied allegations from the U.S. Department of Justice that bribes were paid to secure votes when the hosting rights for the tournament were awarded 12 years ago, the Reuters report further added. Also, Football World Cup is played in the months of season break. With global leagues operating for 10 months per year, it is suitable for FIFA to conduct the World Cup between the months of June and July, so that the top leagues in the world do not hinder their progress. One thing to consider here is the playing conditions in those months, which vary geographically. With Qatar right in the middle of the desert, the temperature go in the excess of 40 degrees Celsius, a weather that is not favorable for the players at all. With the majority of the players coming from national leagues with colder weather, it is paramount for FIFA that they offer tournaments to countries that are suitable for its biggest stakeholders, the players. In 2018, players found it difficult in Russia as the weather ranged between 30 to 34 degrees Celsius in several games. If that was bad, imagine playing in Qatar, under the blazing May sun. After much deliberation, FIFA recommended that Qatar host a shorter World Cup over the cooler months of November and December, in a move that was sure to anger the major European leagues. The change in schedule marked the first time that the World Cup was moved from June-July to a November-December window, where the European leagues were forced to put a pause, to allow their players to compete for their national teams. A 48-page report by Amnesty International, world's foremost human rights group over the treatment of migrant workers, Reality Check 2021, said that practices such as withholding salaries and charging workers to change jobs were still rife, despite labor reforms in 2014. Qatar has faced intense criticism from human rights groups over its treatment of migrant workers. As we all know, when Qatar hit the oil and gas jackpot in the late 20th century, a period of very rapid urbanization began. As it had a shortage of labor, Qatar started importing migrant workers from South Asian countries, like Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh and India. These workers, desperate for a job with good pay, come to Qatar and become a part of the kafala system. Under kafala, the laborer's passport, wage and living conditions are at the mercy of his employer, and they are usually very bad. They sponsor their visa and issue their residence permit. They stop a worker from changing jobs, while in contract which is often for up to 5 years. And if the workers refuses to do so, they report workers as having absconded, leading to arrest on deportation. They also have control on whether domestic workers and others can leave the country, by issuing exit permits. These migrant workers live in a run-down, secluded part of Doha, in cramped and dirty quarters. They work for 16 to 18 hours daily, in 45 degrees Celsius heat, and they have no say, no rights. Since 2010, more than 6,500 workers have died constructing Qatar's beautiful football stadiums, according to a BBC report. The government of Qatar said its labor system was still a work in progress, but denied allegations in the report that thousands of migrant workers in the 2022 World Cup host nation were being trapped and exploited. Amnesty and other rights groups have led calls for FIFA to compensate migrant workers in Qatar for human rights abuses by setting aside $440 million, matching the World Cup prize money. The football associations of 10 European nations, including England and Germany, have pushed FIFA to take action to improve the rights of migrant workers in Qatar. Do you know, Qatar makes history as the first Muslim country to host the FIFA World Cup. Also the first country with strict controls on alcohol. Alcohol restrictions are challenges for the organizers of an event sponsored by a beer brand, and often associated with beer-drinking fans. Qatar, as well as FIFA, had earlier said that it would let ticketed fans buy beer at matches, starting 3 hours before kickoff, and for 1 hour after the final whistle, but not during the match. But FIFA made a massive U-turn on November 18, saying that alcohol would not be sold at the stadiums. Outraged traveling and non-traveling fans hit out at FIFA over the last-minute development. This prompted Infantino to bring the clause out and say, fans would not die if they would not drink for 3 hours. He further went on and said something that surely will go down as one of the most explosive statements made in the history of the competition.
I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years.
With just 24 hours before the official ceremony, this turned into one of the most talked about tournaments in the history of the game. Also, being a conservative Muslim country, homosexuality is illegal, and some soccer players have raised concerns for fans traveling to the event, especially lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender, LGBT, individuals and women, who rights groups say Qatari laws discriminate against. But World Cup organizers have repeatedly said that everyone, no matter their sexual orientation or background, is welcome during the tournament. Less than 2 weeks before the finals, Khalid Salman, a Qatar World Cup ambassador and former international, told German broadcaster ZDF that homosexuality was damage in the mind. He added that the country expects more than 1 million visitors for the World Cup, and anyone coming to Qatar for the tournament should accept our rules here.
But do you think gay is haram?
It's haram. Because why is haram? I am not one big Muslim, but it's haram. Why? Because it's damage in the mind.
Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, quoted Nelson Mandela earlier in 2022. During the FIFA Congress, Infantino rightly said, "Sport can change the world, that it can inspire, that it unites," and he was right with that. Football, as the most popular sport in the world, has a unique reach. About half a year down the line, the same president has insisted the football federations and the players to focus on football and not to get distracted by the surrounding noise. In a country where homosexuality is illegal, alcohol is banned and women cannot show skin, many footballers and football associations have raised concerns. Denmark have chosen not to travel with their families, Australia have held press conferences ahead of the tournament, and USA have paraded a rainbow-colored badge to support the LGBT groups. Even the Australian soccer team has spoken out against Qatar's record on human rights and same-sex relationships. Well, at the end, protests against FIFA and Qatar has had some positive outcomes. FIFA has disbanded its executive committee and has reverted to a more democratic voting procedures. Qatar has disbanded the kafala system and established a minimum wage for workers. But whatever the situation, football goes on. That's it for today, guys. If you like this video, then share the video with as many people possible. What are your thoughts on this? Don't you think sports has the power to unite everyone? Let me know in comments.